Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our weekly investor update. I'm your host, Rachel Curlew, AVP of Investment Banking. We're happy to bring you another installment of our weekly uploads. Today's video will be focused on EDUFOCAL Group. Joining me on the panel is EDUFOCAL Group founder and CEO, Mr. Gordon Swaby, who will be sharing some insights on the company and information being discussed today. Also on the panel today is our CEO, Mr. Gary Peart. Welcome, Gordon. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you for having me, Rachel.
You're welcome. If you're a fan of the content, then don't forget to subscribe. Also, hit the bell to stay up to date with the channel. We upload content like this every week. Also, if you want to embark on your first investment journey, you should take that first step with Mayberry. Follow us on social media to learn more about how you can get started today. And now let's get right into the presentation. Today we'll be discussing the 3 months ended March 31st, 2023. That's Q1 for EDUFOCAL Group. And we'll also be reviewing the full year results for 2022. Just to remind viewers that the financials are posted on Mayberry's website, www.mayberryinv.com. So feel free to jump over there and download the financials, and you can go through as I present. So, can we pull up the first slide, please? Perfect, thank you. For the quarter ending March, we're seeing here that revenues jumped 85% to 112 million, up from 60 million reported the prior year quarter. Admin and operating expense also jumped 35% to 60 million relative to 45 million booked the prior period. This resulted in a 227% increase in gross profit to 51 million relative to 15 million for the period. This compares to a gross profit figure of 3 million for the full year, December 2022. The company booked impairment loss on financial assets of 1.2 million relative to 7.8 million booked the prior period. They also had an uptick in finance costs for the quarter of 8 million relative to almost 6 million last year, which resulted in a pre-tax figure of 42 million relative to 2 million. And finally, the company reported net profits of again 42. They're listed under the junior market, so the tax incentive there, and they booked 2 million the prior period. This resulted or translated into an EPS of 65 cents relative to 3 cents for the prior period. Total assets grew 3% to 308 million relative to 300 million the prior period. Total assets are also up 258 million relative to 108 million. And finally, shareholders' equity down 73% to 51 million relative to 192 million booked last year. The company noted our Learn division has had a strong start to the new fiscal year with increased revenues. Learn division throughout the time period under study as it strengthened its network of key alliances in Asia, Europe, and the United States. The EDUFOCAL business unit has been consistently successful so far in 2023, and it is continuing its aggressive pursuit of annual profits before taxes. Let's look on some key statistics. The stock is currently trading at $1.81. PE is not applicable at the moment. This is due to the trailing loss that the company is seeing of 138 million. This is due from the carrying net loss that we're seeing on the books from the December year end. For the full year, they booked a net loss of 178 million for that period. This was due to an impairment loss on financial assets of 153 million, which is pretty much an accounting adjustment that calculates an expected credit loss amount, which accounts for the time value of money. So as at December 31st, we saw that EDUFOCAL had a high receivables balance carrying on the balance sheet. So based on management and the auditor's assessment of the collection period, they had to book some provision in the event that EDUFOCAL does not successfully rather collect this amount. It's a non-cash amount, and as EDUFOCAL, aims to make good on these outstanding receivables, we should see an improvement on this line item. I want to note the company does a lot of business for the ministry, and they do take a little time to pay. So that's what's driving this impairment loss on financial assets. Moving to the next slide, the quarterly profit movements. We are seeing for Q4 a significant decline in profits of 162 million. Again, this is due to the impairment loss on financial assets. As I mentioned, they're booked for the full year 153 million loss for that line item alone. But we can see here that quarterly profits are has been trending up based on Q1's number. It's at 42 million for that quarter. So we're definitely going to speak with Gordon and see, what's the driver behind the profits for Q1 and how sustainable it is. Moving on to the other slide. Looking at the stock price, we're seeing here, just to remind viewers that Mayberry, we listed this stock in March of last year, March 2022, at $1. We saw where the stock peaked at $3.88. So, congrats to all those who got to exit at that point, earning such fabulous returns. It has trended down since. It's trending between the $1.80, $2 space right now. And as we speak with Gordon, we'll appreciate, if we believe the stock will be trading within this band or there's room for improvement on the stock price. So that pretty much wraps up my analysis on EDUFOCAL, and I'm going to turn over to Gordon to answer some questions. The first question from me, Gordon, I want you to explain to the viewers, let's start with the December 2022 numbers, what accounted for, I alluded to it already, but please let them know what accounted for the impairment loss on financial assets and what is EDUFOCAL doing to reverse that loss for 2023.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you for having me. Thank you to the Mayberry team for having me here today. So, you did an exceptional job, Rachel, at explaining, the issue with carrying high receivables. Let me just start by saying that between January and March Q1, the Q1 2023 quarter, we collected over $90 million in receivables. So we collected a significant amount of our receivables for that period. One of the issues we faced in 2022, being a newly listed company, is driving sales is one part of the formula, but obviously collections are another major aspect, right? EDUFOCAL, like any other listed company, is governed by the IFRS rules, and the IFRS rules say that a provision has to be made for receivables that are being carried over a particular period. Hence the big non-cash hit in the full year financials. So that is the major driver for the loss. I'd also say that we underwent we went through a reorganization starting in Q3 2022. That is now concluded, and I can confidently say that the gains that we're seeing in Q1 2023 are not one-off gains. These are gains that will continue throughout the year. And to put it into perspective, we've never had profits of $42 million, not in a quarter and certainly not in a full year. I believe that our pre-tax profit, our highest pre-tax profit was around 15 million in 2020 after taxes a little lower, and that was full year, right? So for us to post profits of $42 million in a single quarter is exceptional. There are points in the company's arc where we didn't even do $48 million in revenue. So, I would not call it a turning point of sorts. I'd say we're entering another phase of the business. we mentioned in our reorganization that a part of the strategy is to hire COO, which we've done. And the responsibilities of our COO, Mark Green, and the responsibilities that I have as CEO are actually very clear. He's responsible, with the rest of the operations team for executing on projects that we have. I am responsible for strategy, business development, sales, and major collections. So, the mistake that we made, that I hold myself responsible for, obviously as CEO, in 2022 is certainly not going to happen again, and I would consider it a one-off event.
Okay, thank you for that, Gordon. And just to add to that, I agree, revenues of 112 million and profit of 42 million is exceptional. You mentioned the revenue is, it's not one-off gain. So, help our viewers to understand what's behind this revenue.
So, a part of the reorganization efforts too was to also measure where we're largely getting the upsides from in the business in terms of the revenue lines. When you look at the business division or learn division, there are projects that are happening and there are projects that are about to happen. I'm not sure if I can speak to one particular project, but we signed a contract recently with a particular listed entity for $100 million, right? So it's a major contract that we'll be announcing shortly. And that's not one-off revenue. That is going to be recurring business for us. Certainly once we perform well, it will continue into the future. There's another company that we're partnering with soon. A company, closely affiliated to the Mayberry group. I won't speak much on it right now. Gary, I can't talk on it, right? Is Gary on the line with us?
Gary's here with us.
I'm not sure Gary's hearing me, but certainly.
I'm here, but I'm not hearing you.
No, I was saying, Gary, that there are a number of projects that we have.
No, I heard what you said. It's fine.
Of course, we continue to work with the ministry, and there are other clients, private sector clients that we've onboarded that will again contribute to recurring revenue for us. So we're very, very, very bullish on the future quarters. Certainly, I think that what we're seeing in Q1 will continue over the next 3 quarters.
Okay, perfect. I probably shouldn't, but I shouldn't. So, thanks for that, Gordon. One thing I want to comment on, read EDUFOCAL, your businesses, your segment line. You don't only just concentrate on kids. You extend it to adults. A lot of people have the basic knowledge and understanding of areas, but you've allowed them to get accreditation.
Yeah.
In that space. So that's definitely a great contribution to the sector.
Yeah. There's one thing I wanted to touch on too, Rachel. As much as EDUFOCAL is a company, I see my responsibility beyond just being the CEO of a company and growing top line and bottom line. I think that we have a responsibility to the nation. Just to kind of share some numbers with you. Jamaica experiences about 45,000 births annually. Of that amount, about 90% of them are enrolled in early childhood institutions. At the primary level, enrollment falls to 83%, and at the secondary level, it falls to 80%, right? Now, to speak to the secondary level specifically, 12% of the students at grade 11 drop out, right? And only 40% of that amount go on to sit the CSEC exam. So we only have about, and of that amount, only 9,000 of them pass 5 or more CSEC subjects annually. That is the reality of Jamaica. And if you look at when you look at where the world is going, the advent of artificial intelligence, I believe that we have a responsibility to ensure that we're building out platforms and content that will be to the benefit of our people. Because if we don't, not only is that going to have implications for us if we're not fulfilling our mission, but it will have implications for all companies in Jamaica. So I think that the software that we're building, the content that we're building out, both for students but for also professionals, it's a big responsibility, and we take it very seriously.
Yeah, to add to that, education is so important in a country's development. It promotes employment, it reduces poverty, and it's definitely a driver of long-term economic growth. So
Absolutely.
it's good that EDUFOCAL is contributing positively to the economy. I agree. There's a lot of room for expansion in the expansion of education through technology. The Ministry of Technology, Dalvas, announced yesterday that they earmarked $1 billion for the National Broadband Initiative project. Where another 102 schools will benefit from this program. Is this something that EDUFOCAL can add value?
Absolutely. So last year we signed a partnership agreement with the Jamaica Library Service, and a part of that initiative is the rollout of digital centers, right? The premise behind that, or part of it, is the fact that we want students to have connectivity, and if they don't have connectivity at home, we want to create a space and a place for them to have connectivity. Obviously, students having access to the internet in school redounds to the benefit of EDUFOCAL, because it means that more students that can access the internet can also access EDUFOCAL, right? And that's a positive upside for us. So I saw the announcement. I was very excited to see it, and definitely I think that those kinds of movements in schools, that kind of initiative in schools, certainly benefits EDUFOCAL in the short, medium, and long term. Yeah.
Perfect. So hopefully in the at least in the long term we can improve on those numbers. So maybe 3 years time when you're back on the program, those statistics will improve through
Absolutely.
EDUFOCAL's initiatives.
Absolutely.
Gary, I'm inviting you into the discussion. Do you have anything to add?
Well,
Sorry.
what I like is, the first quarter results. I mean, they're amazing results. The full year audit, they're disappointing in terms of the actual outturn, but the simple fact is that it's a non-cash item. And so seeing the $40 million for the first quarter is extremely encouraging. It's rebuilding shareholder equity. And I just want to hear from Gordon, what more? He has alluded to contracts, but what else can he do to sustain that kind of profit going forward? And then also, can he speak about his latest acquisition or his last acquisition, and how is that doing?
Great question, Gordon.
Great question, Gary. So Clever is something that we're extremely excited about. Clever School Teacher. So Clever School Teacher is an acquisition that we made in the early part of 2022, I believe shortly after we listed on the exchange. Clever for us represents the opportunity to earn consistent but also growing recurring revenue in US dollars. When we bought Clever, we'd refer to it as MRR, monthly recurring revenue, was on a decline, and there are a number of initiatives that we've put in place since that time to grow revenue. So, for example, the Clever School Teacher platform, the website was not user friendly, was not easy to navigate. We underwent an initiative to retool, rebuild the website, which we've done. That was recently completed in Q1 2023. We also had to kind of, I'd say, acclimatize ourselves to the content build-out process. So, Clever School Teacher creates, lesson plans for K1, K2 teachers in the United States of America. They pay a subscription fee monthly, and they get access to this content for use in their classrooms. The beautiful thing about that is, so obviously aside from learning that process, which we've more or less perfected, the content itself has applicability in the local context, right? This is content that can be leveraged at the early childhood level here in Jamaica. And again, that's something that we're extremely excited about, especially, the conversations that have been happening in the public forum about the early childhood level. And again, alluding to what I would have mentioned earlier about the impact that we want to have. We want to have an impact at every part of the pipeline, from early childhood, primary, secondary, and in some form at the tertiary level, but also in the workplace. So we're extremely excited about that.
Thank you so much for that, Gordon. You spoke a lot about content, and we're seeing here where your admin and operating expense jumped 35% for for the period, I think, you should probably explain to investors, what is in this line item so they can appreciate, how much money is spent in terms of content, talent, retaining talent, building out different initiatives. Let me stop and let you speak.
So a big part of our business, Rachel, is acquiring and retaining top talent, right? Certainly, a lot of what we do, all of what we do, requires people who are highly skilled, and retaining that talent, acquiring that talent, comes at a cost. To put things into context, what we were able to produce in our Q1 numbers, it didn't require us doubling our workforce, right? I'm saying that to say that EDUFOCAL can probably hit 300, 400 million in profits, for example, without hiring 3 times our workforce. At some point, you kind of meet how would I put it? You can scale with the workforce you have because of the kind of business that we're in. So you're leveraging the platform that you're building out. You're leveraging the content that you're building out. And I gave the example of Clever. We can mobilize Clever's content and monetize it in a different space without hiring more people. So the content itself, the platforms have reach. Our Chief Strategy Officer, Dr. Anna Bethiun, is based in Lagos, Nigeria, and has lived in Lagos, Nigeria for a number of years. And yesterday, in Lagos, really a massive project for us. We had a conference. It was called Teen Fest. We had close to 3,000 attendees. This is EDUFOCAL's event in Lagos, Nigeria. Close to 3,000 attendees.
Amazing.
We had hundreds of schools in Lagos at that event. And what we're doing in Lagos, for example, is positioning ourselves to, again, leverage the same platform that we've already built out and we're leveraging in Jamaica. So if you think about that use case within, obviously, happening in a Jamaican context, happening in, or will happen in the Caribbean context, that is how we'll be able to have scale, right? So and for me, that's a beautiful thing, and certainly the investments that we've made are already starting to pay off. We just obviously have to manage collections so that we don't have that impairment hit again in the future.
Perfect. Philip Burgess just asked a question relating to that. Let me just read. Congratulations on a huge bounce back for Q1. Can you speak to the plans of EDUFOCAL Africa, which you started? Is that division expected to be student focused, or will we see EDUFOCAL business on the content too?
Both. So great question, Phil. Thank you. We see a big part of the process. We see teacher training as a big part of the process. Prior to COVID-19, EDUFOCAL had presence in well over 300 schools. That's something that we are looking to also leverage in 2023 and beyond. And we've built tools that teachers can use in their classrooms. And we've built tools that can help teachers to scale up very quickly. A big focus for us in Nigeria is teacher training. We believe there's a big opportunity in Nigeria and other African countries for teacher training. And again, we believe that this is something that we can benefit from in the short and medium term, i.e. within the calendar year 2023, within the financial year 2023.
Perfect. Thank you for that. See a question coming in. What does EDUFOCAL Business Limited do? What measures have been taken to improve collection from this entity?
Okay. So
continue. Just to remind viewers, I believe that there was I had it somewhere. I think 107 million trade receivables carrying from EDUFOCAL Business Limited. Continue.
So, again, the climate that we're in, you find that organizations will stretch out payment terms. Of course, there are options that we have. So, for example, factoring, right? Factoring has its upsides, but it also has its downsides. So while you get cash in the bank, while you don't have the threat of impairment, you're selling your receivables at a discount, right? This is an ongoing conversation in our management meetings, something that we measure on a weekly basis, and if we're ever placed in a situation where we have to choose between impairment and factoring, certainly we would make the decision to factor. So I'd say that's one opportunity for us. EDUFOCAL business focuses on corporate, we have a proprietary corporate LMS, and we also create content for organizations. And we've been doing that since 2019. We've worked with a number of organizations, and we continue to grow that division of the business. And we see a lot of opportunity for growth, both here in Jamaica, the Caribbean, and on the African continent.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And with Data Protection Acts, right at the final stage for being rolling out, you have a partnership with Divine Privacy
Yes.
Limited. Can you speak more on that? And
Sure.
also continue.
So we partnered with Design Privacy at the beginning of 2023. We continue to roll that partnership out. We believe it is a significant partnership for us. The Data Protection Act will have implications for every single business in Jamaica, not just medium-sized and large businesses, but also small businesses. That partnership sees us providing, again, the proprietary LMS that I mentioned before, but also building out interactive content for use in organizations. How that works is that the organizations pay a subscription fee to access the platform and the content, and they use it, and then we also continue to update it. Again, if you look at even that partnership, the content is built once, the platform is built once, continues to be updated, but the costs to maintain and grow the platform are not. The costs tend to level off over time, and you obviously benefit from increased margins from that. So those are the kinds of initiatives that we're interested in and continue to grow. And we're always open to partners who provide that kind of revenue setup for us. And again, we're looking forward to building out not only data privacy content, but other courses that we believe organizations will be interested in. Certainly. So that's I'd say where we are with EDUFOCAL business, and also not making the mistake of having receivables sitting on our balance sheet in the future.
Absolutely agree. Again, investors, EDUFOCAL has such good potential to grow, as evidenced in their Q1 results. I'm going to take some questions from social media. I'm going to start with from Philip again. How does the company ensure customer retention across divisions and generally reduce churn in the purely tech portions of the business?
Yeah, great question, Phil. So going back, and I don't mean to, focus a lot on the reorg, but the reorg was so important for us because there's a lot that people see on the outside, and I found in my time running EDUFOCAL that the most efficient and productive things that happen in an organization are not seen on the outside. So it is not by chance that you're seeing what you're seeing in our Q1 numbers. It is through trial and error that we are able to position ourselves to see where there are gaps, where there are inefficiencies, and create the space for that to be fixed or removed. How we've structured the group now is we have programs, and each program has its own P&L, and that is monitored by the program lead. And again, I think we'll continue to see the upside of tracking our numbers in that way. Certainly, we will get to a place where we can publish publicly how each program is performing. And so we're very, very excited about that and getting to that place.
Perfect. Another question. Can you expound on the impairment further? Mm-hmm. You said it's a non-cash. It's non-cash, so how exactly will it be settled if it's paid back? I can take this one. ARM A76. If Gordon receives, I believe, Gordon, for the quarter, you said you've already received 90 million?
Correct. A little over 90 million.
A little over 90 million in receivables. So what happens here is he will book an impairment gain in the P&L, so it will net. It will just net out in this line item. Moving on to another question. Philip again. Sounds like you front load your expenses and then see an increase in profitability going forward.
Absolutely. And if you look at some of the initiatives that we're undertaking right now, say, if we hire an instructional designer to build out content for us, we can't hire the instructional designer when we're executing the project. They have to be hired before. And of course, there's an expense because you're paying salaries. But that instructional designer can work on multiple projects, and as we have more projects in the pipeline, again, you're scaling not only platform and content, but you're scaling people. So, where we're positioned now, we're very, very, very excited. And I'm looking forward to coming back on the MIL program in a couple of months to talk again about, the massive gains that we'll be seeing from EDUFOCAL. Also, obviously, keeping those receivables low.
Perfect. I think you've done a good job of identifying and answering Gary's first question. You're not one after sustainable revenues.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Leading to another question, well, rather a comment from Troy. If nobody buys up AF Monday morning, then I'm sure then I surely will. Mark my words. I agree. It's based on their Q1 results and their growth prospects. EDUFOCAL will bounce back investors. I believe that. And again, Mayberry remains committed to the companies we take strategic positions in. EDUFOCAL was one of our private equity plays, and we graduated them to the stock market, and we still stood by them. We helped them raise 200 million in DBJ financing in September of last year. We're still committed to help the company grow. So we're still here in a position to make it for the long term. Somebody's asking, any update, Mike G? Any update on the nursing course?
Oh wow, that's so. You see the excitement on my face, right? So, when people think about learning, right, or certainly when they think about EDUFOCAL, they think about PEP. But we don't think about learning and education, within the context of just formal exams. Last year, we started a program, the health education segment of our business, and the brand or the program is called VHSI. And what VHSI focuses on is preparing nursing students for their NCLEX exam, right? A lot of people don't understand what happens in that space, but if you're a nurse in Jamaica or you want to become a nurse in Jamaica, you can only take the exam 3 times. If you fail the 3rd time, you can never become a nurse in Jamaica. Recently, the Nursing Council of Jamaica changed the rule, and they're allowing nursing students to sit the exam for a 4th time. I'm sharing that context to say that just like the PEP exam, in some regard, the CSEC exam, it's a high stakes exam, and nursing students want to pass their exam because look at it this way: if you're investing time and money in becoming a nurse and you end up failing, you would have wasted your money, and you don't have the possibility of pursuing your ambition of becoming a nurse. We did our research and we saw that there's an opportunity to train nursing students virtually, and to prepare them for this exam. And certainly we're seeing signs of this program possibly becoming bigger than other parts or other programs that we have. Certainly within, again, financial year 2023, we think our nursing program led by Tisha Vaughn is going to bring in massive gains to EDUFOCAL. So I'm looking forward to speaking about that a little bit more. But again, also using that as an example to show the scope of EDUFOCAL. Again, it's the same platform, building out content that can be reused or delivering live classes, to nursing students across Jamaica.
I'm particularly excited about that one for 2 reasons. I'd love to see that growth reflected in EDUFOCAL numbers, but it's no surprise that Jamaica is experiencing a shortage in the nursing field. So if EDUFOCAL can contribute to,
Yeah. I dare say, Rachel, that Jamaica is experiencing a shortage in all professional fields, whether it's accountants, nurses, tourism workers. It's a big opportunity for them to learn.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you there. And
So again, we're very, very excited about the opportunities that are there. We don't have, as a company, a shortage of opportunities. What we want to achieve and what we're achieving is operational efficiency. And again, the best work I've found that a company does is not seen by the general public. You see the outcome of it, but you don't see what is happening behind the scenes because it's a messy process getting to that point of efficiency. And I believe that we're almost definitely there.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Somebody made a comment. Okay. No problem. Good. Clearly, it was a conversation, but what I saw was hopefully we see EDUFOCAL acquiring one-on-one shortly. Oh, that one is funny. But I mean, if the opportunity does come up,
Absolutely.
and we are here, ready, committed to work
Absolutely.
with EDUFOCAL. I've seen another question. Besides the IB role and the Data Protection Act, this is from Philip, as per the design privacy website, how does or will Mayberry benefit from the relationship with EDUFOCAL? Are there any synergies here? Gary, I'm going to throw that one out to you. Let me repeat for you. Besides the IB role and the Data Protection Act, how does or will Mayberry benefit from the relationship with EDUFOCAL? Are there any business synergies here?
There are several. The biggest one is the Mayberry, what we refer to as the Mayberry Financial Network. We have thousands of customers that can become customers of EDUFOCAL. Within the Mayberry infrastructure, there are opportunities to train staff, especially as we digitize our business. During the year, there are a certain amount of training that is done. We can digitize that. For example, some of our internal EML training is currently digitized. So as we have turnover in the company staff, that is something that one of these days we could sit with God and say, well, we can improve on that.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest opportunity for both Mayberry and EDUFOCAL really is to exploit the potential of the different relationships that we have with a variety of customers.
Absolutely, help to drive that growth. Again, Mayberry remains committed to all companies that we list for the long term. I'm going to take one final question from social media before we wrap up. Gordon, this is from Steph S. Gordon, any updates on doctor accreditation and financial literacy programs you mentioned rolling out in the past?
What was the first one?
Any updates on doctor accreditation?
On doctor accreditation.
And financial literacy programs you mentioned rolling out in the past?
So, I'll say that you'll hear a lot about our very massive financial literacy initiative soon, within the next week or two. We're looking forward to making that announcement. Our financial literacy initiative is massive. Very excited about that. Very excited about rolling that out. In terms of accreditation, we are looking at opportunities in the accreditation space currently, not just for doctors, but again for different professionals. Because, I mentioned earlier, Rachel, that there is a shortage of professionals in Jamaica, but there's also a shortage of all kinds of workers, from cashiers to plumbers, electricians, and you want to take people through a process of getting to a place where they can actually execute their jobs productively, right? So one, you have to train them. Training can be fully online or virtual, depending on what you're doing. Then you want to certify them. So you want to show to their potential employers that they are indeed certified, and that obviously has to come from a place that is credible. And finally, you want to deploy them into the workplace. There's an opportunity for EDUFOCAL at every stage of that process. So there are opportunities in training, there are opportunities in accrediting, and there are opportunities in deploying talent in the places that would best serve them. We can earn, and certainly they will learn and benefit from that opportunity. And we're very excited about that. And that's not an opportunity just for Jamaica. That's an opportunity for Jamaica, other developing countries, Africa, even developed nations. We see that there are opportunities for that.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Investors or viewers, if you were counted, I believe I counted 4 initiatives, and one you'll be releasing in 2 weeks. So
within weeks, yes.
Within 2 weeks. So stay tuned, guys. We're gonna wrap up for today's segment. Again, EDUFOCAL is a great company poised for growth, as seen in our Q1 results. Just to remind you, 112 million in profit in revenue, 42 million in profits. Gordon alluded to getting to 300 million within the medium to long term. So as we invite him back on the program in the upcoming quarters, we can see how we're trending towards those numbers. Again, just to remind viewers, the education sector is extremely important. So, congrats again, Gordon,
Thank you.
for how you contribute there,
Thank you.
We do appreciate it. And so, again, just they took a hit in terms of impairment adjustments for December. They do have a trailing loss, and they're hoping to get back in the green within the upcoming quarters. Thanks for joining the program,
Thanks for having me,
Gordon.
Rachel.
We look
Thanks for
out
having
for
me,
your
Gary.
you're welcome. We will look out for your announcement. And that's it for today, guys. I'd like to thank our viewers for tuning in. Your support is always appreciated. I would also like to thank Mr. Swaby for sharing his insight into the company. If you're curious about our updates on our virtual investor forum, then find us on social media. We share our live stream dates and upcoming guests on our official social media pages. So give us a follow and stay up to date for all things forum related. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mayberry Investments Limited. Click the bell to receive all notifications. Keep safe and remember, wise investors, slow and steady wins the race. Thank you.
The Mayberry Investments Limited Virtual Investor Forum has been the standard for investor education in Jamaica for decades, where top financial minds provide comprehensive insight into the market and ideal investment strategies and opportunities for our clients. Celebrating 37 years of excellence in investment banking. The Mayberry Virtual Investor Forum, investing in Jamaica.